This is for me.
Saygıdeğer konuklar, iyi akşamlar. Hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum. Doğumunun 150. yılında Üstâd-ı Cihân Tambûrî Cemil Bey Uluslararası Sempozyumunun ikinci gününün son oturumuna eriştik. Gün boyu son derece değerli katılımcılar, yerli ve yabancı uzmanlardan çok değerli bildiriler dinleyerek ufkumuzu ve bilgi dağarcığımızı geliştirdik. Bugün bu son oturumda yurt dışından davetli iki değerli konuşmacımız var. Birincisi benim çok kadim dostum, çok değerli, sevgili meslektaşım, uzun yıllar öncesine dayanan hukukumuzun çok şükür bugün halen devam ettiği, kendisi Kanada'da yaşıyor, değerli oğlu Timur'la birlikte, kızı Daphne ile birlikte ve torunu Aylin'le birlikte Türk kültürünü ve Türk müziğini derinden bilen harikulade gerek bilim insanı gerek insani vasıflarıyla son derece seçkin bir şahsiyet. Kanada, Toronto, Ryerson Üniversitesi öğretim üyesi Profesör Leslie Hall. Leslie Hall ile bizim tanıştığımız 1977-78 yılına varır. Yani neredeyse 40 yıla yakın. Tabii o zaman ben 42 yaşındaydım, o 2 yaşındaydı. Böyle bir yaş farkı var aramızda. O her zaman nezaketiyle, zarafetiyle ve olağanüstü insanperverliğiyle ve bu alandaki yetkinliğiyle göz doldurmuş bir şahsiyet. Ona sizin huzurunuzda hasbelkader moderatörlük yapmak benim için de gerçekten hem tarihi bir fırsat hem de büyük bir onur. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to present you my very old colleague, my friend, my oldest friend, my beloved and esteemed colleague and friend, Professor Leslie Hall from Canada, city of Toronto, and Ryerson University. She taught musicology and world music throughout the years at Ryerson University, and I think she worked there approximately 27 years and taught several students, and she is also very well-known musicologist all over the world, and she is very well-known Turkish music expert with her conferences, lectures, presentations and articles. Today she will be with us in this live session, and she is also a very active member of ICTM, International Council of Traditional Music, throughout the years. Her presentation or her speech title is Classical Turkish Music, A Personal Perspective. Kişisel bir bakış açısından klasik Türk müziği başlıklı sunumunu bizlerle paylaşacak. And she will share with us her inspirations, her observations, her experiments, her opinion, most important, all of them, her knowledge, very deep knowledge on Turkish music aspects. I am really excited to see her after a long period, and I'm so happy. Professor Leslie Hall from Toronto, Canada, Ryerson University. Now I give the floor my esteemed colleague. Stage belongs to you, Leslie Hall.
Thank you.
Here you are, please.
Thank you. Çok teşekkür ederim. Ruhi Ayangil suggested that I speak at this conference about classical Turkish music in general, and to begin with Tanbûrî Cemil Bey's words, "We must find a way to get the Europeans to listen to our music." Tanbûrî Cemil Bey did not live to see the subsequent political and cultural changes in his homeland, nor could he have imagined them. He would likely be astonished to see the amount of research about classical Turkish music in the past 3 decades in numerous languages, as well as the amount of notation, live performances, recordings, and internet examples. Important research about Turkish music has been published internationally in scholarly books and journals, including works by several outstanding scholars presenting at this conference. One of the projects that is ongoing is the critical editions of Near Eastern music manuscripts under the direction of Professor Rolf Jäger, who spoke to us yesterday. This is just an amazing project. In my presentation, I will be speaking from a personal perspective about some of my experiences with classical Turkish music. The first slide, which I hope you can see, shows the cover of the International Turkish Airways magazine from April 2014, which was available on all Turkish Airlines flights that month. I was on a flight from Toronto to Istanbul, and I was very surprised to see that classical Turkish music was the lead story, with the 14-page article in English and Turkish, color photos of miniatures, instruments, and venues, including a Mevlevihane and Dede Efendi's house. There was also an interview with Udi Necati Çelik and an article by musician Mehmet Güntekin. I first heard classical Turkish music in an ethnomusicology seminar with Professor Timothy Rice at the University of Toronto. I had been planning to write a doctoral thesis on French Baroque keyboard music, but when I heard Turkish music for the first time, a solo ney taksim by Akagündüz Kutbay, it transformed my perspective, and I experienced a paradigm shift. I completely changed my academic plan. Professor Rice was the only ethnomusicologist on the faculty at that time, and the other professors did not support my new topic. Nevertheless, I began studying the Turkish language and tried to locate Turkish people living in Toronto. At that time, we could call it the dark ages. There was no internet, no email, and very poor telephone service to Turkey. I actually looked in the large Toronto telephone directory under Turkish, and I found the Turkish-Canadian Friendship Association. When I telephoned, I was invited to an evening of Turkish culture at a small community center where I met members of the Turkish community and saw performances of Turkish music and dance. That night, I also met medical doctor İlhami Gökçen, who has written about Turkish music and who subsequently advised me about my plans. Less than 2 years later, I flew to Istanbul and enrolled at the recently established Türk Müzikası Devlet Konservatuarı in Nişantaşı in 3 small classes, theory, voice, and kanun, with 3 extraordinary teachers, Hoca Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin, Hoca Yavuz Özüstün, and a very young Hoca, Ruhi Ayangil. Sadly, both Bekir Bey and Yavuz Bey have passed away. This is a photo I took of Bekir Bey in one of our classes, and I miss him very much. I was incredibly fortunate to have had these 3 exceptional teachers. After I completed my doctoral thesis in 1989, my experiences with classical Turkish music suffered 2 very long gaps. The first was a gap of 18 years, the second more than 6 years, and I hope you will forgive my inadequacies. Professor John Morgan O'Connell has published excellent works discussing the profound changes after the establishment of the Republic of Turkey and the drastic effects on musicians and musical transmission. The transmission of music, whether in educational institutions, private lessons, or performances, is often reliant on key individuals who play a crucial musical role in the culture, as discussed by Timothy Rice and Jesse Ruskin in their 2012 article in Ethnomusicology. In addition to key figures, live musical transmission today usually relies on four main funding sources, which may be combined: corporate funding, government funding, individual donors, and ticket sales. In this paper, I will discuss briefly two key individuals and two large-scale events, one primarily with corporate funding and the other primarily with government funding. This slide shows the number of performances in selected years at the Istanbul Music Festival, and this is one of my large-scale events. Since its inception in 1973, funded primarily by national and multinational corporations under the umbrella of the non-profit Istanbul Foundation for Culture and Arts, the festival's Turkish music content has been drastically reduced over the past 15 years, which is very evident from the slide when you see in the 70s and 80s and also in the 90s, there was more than 20% Turkish music content in the festival. And since 2006, it's basically dwindled down to virtually nothing. The 1989 festival was one of the largest festivals to date, with 79 performances, including the Ruhi Ayangil Ensemble and a concert by Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin at the Ayna Lukavak Pavilion. Bekir Bey was a key figure in the performance, teaching, and transmission of classical Turkish music. He was what we call in the West a musician's musician. His artistry was based on nuance and subtlety, and his performance practice always involved correct intonation of the pitches, sensitive expression of the maqam and the text, and gestures that avoided showmanship. We're going to watch a short video clip now. And this is a video from the 1989 Istanbul Music Festival. It's my home video, so it's not professional. Bekir Bey is singing the şarkı by Hacı Arif Bey, Ahteri Düşkün, My Star Has Fallen. I'm sure that everyone who has heard Bekir Bey sing misses him and is very moved by seeing him perform at the 1989 festival. During the upcoming anniversary celebrations for the Istanbul Music Festival and the Turkish Republic, which will be in 2022 and 2023, I think it is very important that Turkish and international audiences see and hear the excellent Turkish music performers from the state choirs, the many instrumental ensembles, the various music departments, and the conservatories. It's key to Turkish identity, classical Turkish music. This next slide shows some performance sites for classical Turkish and Western music in Istanbul. And some of these sites are important for cultural tourism, which is very important to Turkey's economy. In 2002, social anthropologist Professor Yael Navarro-Yaşın wrote, quote, "More than any other symbol of identity, the state has been central to the constitution of Turkish identity." End quote. The state currently funds 8 conservatories and about 30 university music departments where students receive training in both Turkish and Western music. The state also funds more than 20 performance ensembles in several different categories, as I mentioned, choirs, instrumental ensembles, etc. In addition to state funding, many municipalities have opened their own concert halls where classical Turkish music is performed. An important but controversial example of state funding was the year-long designation of Istanbul as a European Capital of Culture for 2010. Originally intended to be largely funded by private corporations, eventually it was 95% funded by the state. With a budget of almost 200 million euros, Istanbul 2010 had the largest budget to date of any European Capital of Culture. The Turkish Minister of State at that time, Hayati Yazıcı, wrote, quote, "This project will reflect the projection of Turkey's journey to become a full EU member." Despite the decision by the EU in 2018 that no further chapters for Turkey's membership can be considered, Europe still needs Turkey as an economic partner and for its workforce of more than 5 million Turks already working there. And as I mentioned, Turkey is very important for cultural tourism as well. This slide shows you the project's financing and organization of Istanbul 2010. According to Professor Alev Çınar, an important component of the current government's agenda has been to restore Istanbul as the center of the Ottoman Islamic civilization. Istanbul 2010 had an astonishing 10,000 activities, projects, and events in wide-ranging venues that attracted about 10 million people. Despite the top-down governance, many Turkish, European, and other international artists and musicians benefited during the year through grants and performances in historic and unique venues. Thousands of students also benefited from special educational projects and exchanges. The profile of Turkish arts was raised in European cities because it was a European capital of culture. 60% of foreign tourists who participated in a questionnaire about Istanbul 2010 knew that Istanbul was a European capital of culture, and 15% said this was a factor in their decision to visit. Controversy exists over lack of transparency and possible mismanagement of money. However, Istanbul 2010 is certainly not alone in this regard. International examples of state-controlled financial fiascos abound, including numerous Olympic Games with deficits running in the millions and billions of dollars. For example, the cost of the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, which may not even take place due to COVID, is currently $15 billion, with about $8 billion to be paid by the state. So the expenses for the year of Istanbul 2010 don't seem so large in comparison. I will move on now to the Turkish music, classical Turkish music directorate. This is blocking some of the slides. So classical Turkish music was given its own directorate. It sponsored 77 concerts, many of which were free. An important achievement of this directorate was its tangible legacy of books, CDs, notation, and internet sites. It also provided a full breakdown of its expenditures in the final report, something most directorates did not do. The projects are listed on the slide, so you can see one of the series was a set of 9 concerts in historic venues, music of Istanbul architecture. I thought this was a wonderful concept. The Darul Elhan was put on 6 computer discs, 2 online music notation collections. One of them was from the Istanbul Devlet Korosu, and the other from the archives of musician Cüneyt Kosal. One of the concerts I attended during Istanbul 2010 was a free chamber concert at the newly restored Yeni Kapı Mevlevihane. Held in conjunction with the International Mevlana Foundation, the concert was attended by about 150 people, both Turks and non-Turks. The concert was publicized in festival booklets in English and Turkish, distributed through tourism offices and large hotels. Directed by musician İhsan Özer, this particular concert focused on pieces by Zekai Dede Efendi. Because of the relatively intimate hall, the small number of performers, and the fact that just one Western instrument was used, the audience could appreciate the delicate timbre of the instruments, as well as subtle nuances often not heard well in large ensembles. This concert illustrates the success of one of the small free events of Istanbul 2010. The fact that classical Turkish music was given its own directorate, as well as cross-funding from other directorates, makes a powerful statement. So I'm going to play you a brief clip. Sorry, we cut that off rather abruptly there. That was a şarkı by Dede Efendi, A Büt İnev Eda, I Have Become a Slave. One of the major projects of Istanbul 2010 was restoring areas of the historic peninsula, described by UNESCO as, quote, of outstanding universal value. When I lived in Turkey in 1980, the city seemed almost derelict, with mosques and historic sites sadly neglected. However, after being marginalized for many decades, some of the beauty and history of Ottoman Istanbul has been restored and promoted. Cultural tourism has become increasingly important globally, with many people searching for meaning, history, and beauty outside their own culture. Conference tourism is also extremely important, spurring construction of large conference centers and organized excursions to historic and cultural sites. You may not know that from 2010 to 2019, Turkey consistently ranked in the top 10 destination countries in the world. In 2010, Turkey received 31 million tourists, and by 2019, about 51 million tourists, which is quite remarkable. Another example of the state's restoration projects is the Aynalı Kavak, the mirrored pavilion, which was a summer residence of Sultan Selim III. This building is sometimes used for special concerts, and it is also publicized in tourism brochures and online sources. Unfortunately, another building from a different era, the original Ataturk Cultural Center, was abandoned from 2008 to 2018 when it was finally demolished. According to Alev Çınar, the original Ataturk Kültür Merkezi illustrated the contestation or çekişme of space and identity in Istanbul. It represented Kemalism, republicanism, and secularism, which had become anathema to the government. The recent changes to Taksim Square, with the new mosque, the new cultural center, and the proposed Ottoman barracks, also illustrate contested domains through which past, present, and future are reworked. As part of my research, I interviewed about 15 musicians and academics about the year's activities. All had attended Istanbul 2010 events and 2 had been participants. The interviewees had mixed feelings about Istanbul 2010. Some were concerned about the quality of the events and restorations. Some felt the money was mismanaged, but others cited the importance of the restorations, the books about Ottoman history and arts, and the collections of music and recordings. 3 interviewees said there were not enough good quality works or performances, and one interviewee, he may recognize these words, quipped, "Istanbul was not the Başkent or capital city of culture, it was the Boşkent or empty city of culture." During the interviews, I also asked musicians about the future of classical Turkish music. Regarding TRT performances at that time, the interviewees agreed that performers usually sang popular pieces and arabesques on TRT. Therefore, audiences never heard the old music or the special pitches of the Turkish makams. One interviewee said that most people don't want to listen to classical Turkish music, and I would add, they don't want to listen to any kind of classical music. This is true in Canada. The interviewees agreed that TRT simplified performances and used Western instruments to appeal to a wide audience, partly due to competition from private stations. 2 interviewees also bemoaned the fact that no media promoted any of the state music conservatories, and one interviewee asked, "Who protects the old classical music if the state media don't?" Fortunately, in 2018, TRT Name was created, which plays classical music at designated times. However, there is still room for more content, and I would suggest especially performances by young musicians who are students. This slide shows the cover for the Ayangil Turkish Music Ensemble's double CD, which marked the 200th anniversary of Sultan Selim III's death. Ruhi Ayangil is a key figure in the performance, teaching, and transmission of classical Turkish music. His achievements as a performer, conductor, professor, administrator, and advocate for Turkish music, whether Ottoman or Republican, are remarkable. He is bimusical and indefatigable, yorulmaz. He has been a faculty member and administrator at several universities, directed numerous ensembles, and welcomed many foreign visitors to his atelier. He also initiated a special music program for children, the SES project, as well as TUMAC, which is hosting this conference. This last video clip is from a rehearsal in Ruhi Bey's former atelier from 2014. The group includes both amateur and professional musicians. The piece is a Miraciye by Osman Dede. So this is the last music example. I would like to have played that longer. I do have more music. Maybe Ruhi Bey, we can listen to it together another time.
Thank you very much indeed.
My conclusions. Classical Turkish music is unique, subtle, and complex, with a growing international audience and scholarly research in Europe and beyond. So Tanburi Cemil Bey does not have to worry. Ottoman studies, musicology, ethnomusicology, and performance programs in Turkey and internationally should lead to more publications and performances. I believe that TRT should showcase student performances so that young people will see their contemporaries performing classical Turkish music. They don't just want to see old people like myself, they would like to see young people, and that would be meaningful to them. Classical Turkish musicians deserve to be included on important boards, the Presidential Board of Culture and Art Policies, the Istanbul Music Festival, and the new Ataturk Cultural Center. 2022 marks the 50th anniversary of the first Istanbul Music Festival, and 2023 marks the 100th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey. I believe that classical Turkish music deserves to be prominent in the celebrations. I'm very grateful to everyone who has helped me over the years, especially at Istanbul Teknik University. There are 4 people in particular who I would like to mention and thank, of course, Ruhi Bey, Nermin Kaygusuz, Ayşegül Kostak Toksoy, and Esra Berkman. I'm very grateful to everybody who has shared their time and their music with me. Finally, I'm here at my son's home. He's been helping me with technology. I wanted to say that my granddaughter, Aylin, who is 1/4 Turkish, wishes everyone good health and goodbye. Thank you.
This is wonderful remark. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Leslie Hall. Thank you for your invaluable, remarkable, and informative presentation. You made a big contribution this international Tanbûrî Cemil Bey Symposium with your words, with your impressions, your knowledge, your observations, your opinion. Thank you very much indeed. Sevgili dostlar, muhterem Hazirun, bizim hikayemizi bizden daha iyi bilenler var mıdır diye sorduğumuz zaman bunun somut örneklerinden birisiyle bu akşam beraber olduk. Geçmişten geleceğe bizim hikayemizi en az bizim kadar iyi bilen dostlarımız var dünyada. Bu bakımdan Profesör Leslie Hall örneği dünyada insanların, milletlerin, ulusların, sanatçıların ve sanatçıların yabancılaşmadığı bir düzenin somut ve insani ölçekteki örneğidir. Bu bakımdan bizi biz kadar iyi bilen bizden biri olarak Profesör Leslie Hall'a bu anlamlı sunumu ve Uluslararası Tanburi Cemil Bey Sempozyumuna çok değerli katkısı için huzurunuzda teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you very much indeed again, Professor Leslie Hall, for your invaluable speech and your remarkable and informative presentation. Thanks a lot so much.
I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish our mutual dream will be realized in the near future, I think, especially in the creative hands of youth people, young people.
Exactly.
Yes, today I'm so happy. Throughout the day, I heard, I observed very new presentations and dissertations in the frame of this symposium. And my hopes towards the future actually increased, and I am hopeful now for the future. Thanks a lot also our very young academic people and their masters, their tutors. Thanks a lot. Now, if you have any question or some additional information, please do not hesitate, pass this side. I'll check my WhatsApp message box. Peki. Yes, thank you again, Leslie Hall. There is a question for you from Dave Fossum, United States, Texas, Arizona. I am listening to Professor Hall with great interest. Thank you for sharing your perspective. A question. On the slide about the Istanbul Music Festival, does Turkish music refer only to makam-based Turkish Ottoman art music or to all locally produced genres? And secondly, beloved Iran Markov supports Dave's point of view. Excellent question, Dave. Thank you. Iran Markov also. Salute.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really great question. Of course, for this presentation, I was trying to condense a lot of material. I do have the specific details of what the content was. In the years when there was, say, 20% or higher Turkish content, I would say most of it was Turkish classical music. But there was also meter music, there was folk music. So there was other parts of the Turkish music spectrum. But I would say in the years when
there were aşıklar also.
Yes, correct.
Anatolian aşık groups, folklore tatbikat topluluğu, and so on. Yes.
Yes. So I did simplify that for the purposes of this presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Orkun Zafer Özgelen. This is so rare recording. Thank you so much. I think for Bekir Sıtkı Sezgin's recording and the other.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gonca Demir, Miss Gonca Demir. Kıymetli değerli Ruhi Hocam, alanın dimağlarını bizlerle buluşturduğunuz için başta siz olmak üzere tüm Türk Müziği Akademik çevresi ekibi üyelerine çok teşekkür ederiz. Ellerinizden öpüyoruz. Hocam saygılar. There is a thank you message for being together with you and your great opinion. Dave Fossum, this clip brings back memories. His inspiration and like that. From beloved Iran Markov again. Thank you for informative, excellent presentation, Leslie Hall.
That's very kind of you, Irene. She's the only other Canadian, I believe, apart from Brenna McKinnon, who is an incredible singer of Turkish folk music. Irene and I are the ones who pursued Turkish music academically.
Yes, unfortunately, we couldn't see each other with Irene. Inshallah, we will break this unlucky situation and we will see each other soon. Aybike Çelik. The session was really satisfying. Thank you very much, Professor. This thanks belongs to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Assistant Professor Esra Berkman, founder and chair of Eskişehir Anatolian University Conservatoire, Turkish Music Department. Dear Leslie, thank you for your valuable determinations about our makamic world in Turkey.
Ezra, I miss you. Thank you.
Again from Orkun Zafer Özgelen. I want to say that Turkish makam music continues to maintain an ideological content as it used to be. As an independent musician, I can't find any place in this ideological environment.
That's a difficult question, and I don't have an answer. I don't think the answer is simple.
Yes, one more question from Orkun Zafer Özgelen again. I want to ask to Professor Dr. Leslie Hall, how do you consider the present Turkish makam music compare to the old music environment?
Present Turkish makam music. You know, I think it is very difficult to make a judgment about your own era's music, your own contemporary music. I avoid doing that with modern Canadian music. I think it's very difficult. I think it needs the perspective of time, and that really it is over time that you will see what music is going to last, what music will stand the test of time. So I would not want to hazard an opinion about the contemporary Turkish music at this point.
Okay. And from Irene Markov again, thank you, Leslie. Yes, Ruhi Bey, inshallah, ileride, she says. Not ileride, so near, so close, please. Have a good time. We missed all of you. If you have any additional words, Professor Leslie Hall, we can share the time for your words. As if we can close this session, say goodbye, audience and esteemed guests. Here you are.
Yes, I think it's probably time to close it. For one thing, my son's little girl is running around in the basement, and he's my technical advisor, so he needs to go to his duties as a parent.
Okay. Please send our best wishes, share our best wishes and greetings with your son and your granddaughter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
Timur,
for joining us. Thank you, Timur, for
Thank
your
you.
technical assist. Thank you very much.
And stay
Bye-bye.
safe. Everybody stay safe with the COVID. Yeah.
You too. You too. You too.
you.
See you soon. Bye bye.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Evet hocam.
Ne yaptık?
Şimdi Monsieur Guetta'nın bildirisini herhalde benim orijinal dilinden okumam.
Ben çıkıp öbür tarafa geçiyorum şimdi. Çıkabilirim değil mi Korkut Alp?
Siz nasıl bilirseniz hocam.
Sadece leave meeting yapmam gerekir mi? Teşekkür ederim. Kolay gelsin.
Teşekkür ederim hocam. Belki şimdi böyle bu kadar İngilizce takip eden kişilerin olduğu yerde ufak birkaç sözcük de söylemek gerekir. Dear participants, English speaking participants, now Monsieur Guettat, Mahmoud Guettat, couldn't contribute, and he's not here, so I will read his writings. The subject is Turkish-Tunisian musical impact, the Peşrev-bashârif of Tanbûrî Cemil Bey. So generally this is about the Ottoman Turkish impact on Tunisian culture, and from the Tanburi Cemil Bey influence. So we know that the Ottoman and Turkish impact in culture also in Tunisia was so present. Now, the Turgut Reis also is one of the key roles in that. And I know in Bodrum that normally every year some people come from Tunisia to visit his Ottoman Turkish ancestors. So there is a relationship with Turkey, Ottoman and Turkish culture in Tunisia. Now I will go in French, and I will read his writing, and I will speak in Turkish some few words. Thank you. Şimdi size Türkçesini de ulaştırmamız gerekir daha iyi takip etmeniz için. Bu uluslararası. Tamam, çok iyi, çok iyi, çok iyi hocam. O zaman ben okumaya başlayabilirim. Impact müzikal turco-tunisienne. Aslında belki de Mahmoud Guettat ile ilgili de bir iki bilgi vereyim. Kendisi Arap Andalus makam müziği üzerine iki kitabı var, internette bulunabiliyor. Arap ve Endülüs müziğinin kökenleri üzerine şu an yaşayan, bize en fazla bilgi verebilecek kişilerin başında geliyor. Ya da en büyük müzikologlardan biri diyelim. Birazcık açalım. Tunus'ta yaşıyor, orada bir enstitü var, orada görev yapıyordu. Daha önce Arel Sempozyumunda şahsen İstanbul'da bulundu, sunumunu yaptı. Nikos Bey'le ve Monsieur Guetta'yla güzel Fransızca bir sohbetimiz olmuştu. Ben de çok görmek istiyordum kendisini şimdi Zoom'dan da olsa. Fakat belki sağlık sorunları da olabilir. Bize sunumunu gönderdi. Bu bize değişik bir perspektif kazandıracak. Çünkü post-Otoman çalışmalar diye bir alan var. ES'te daha önce bunun bir grubu vardı Fransa'da. Osmanlı'nın dan sonra da orada bu kültürel miras ve kültürel etkileşimin kalmış olduğunu görüyoruz. Bu makalede bu açıdan önemli. Ben Fransızcasına geçiyorum. Données générales. Impact musical turco-tunisien, les Peşrev-bashârif de Tanbûrî Cemil Bey, Mahmoud Guettat, Tunisie. Données générales. Durant la période ottomane, 1574 jusqu'en 1881, depuis les échanges musicaux qui seront opérés entre la Tunisie et les pays de l'Europe centrale, plus particulièrement la musique turque, donnèrent naissance à un enrichissement musical aussi bien théorique que pratique, principalement suite aux réformes de modernisation réalisées sous l'impulsion d'Ahmed Bey. Parmi les créations les plus marquantes furent sans doute celles effectuées dans le cadre de l'école militaire du Bardo, créée le 30 octobre 1871. Citons l'ouvrage réalisé par 4 officiers de cette institution, Lady Chaban, 1894 de l'Égir, donc de 1871. Il est intitulé Gayatul Sururi wal Muna al Jamil li Dakar iki raka iki al musika wal dina. Bien-être et bonheur parfait par le raffinement de la musique et du chant. Arapçam için kusura bakmayın, o konuda bir eğitimim yok. Cette œuvre comporte un témoignage poignant concernant l'impact de la musique turque. Evet, ikinci sayfaya geçtim. L'influence de la musique ottomane, surtout instrumentale, transpérait à travers d'une part l'activité musicale du palais, telles les cérémonies aux fêtes canoniques qui comportaient successivement des chants turcs par les airs et les paroles et des chants arabes, d'autre part la traditionnelle nevbet ottoman exécutée par le Méditerranée, placée dans un lieu sélect du sérail. La pratique pédagogique adoptée était un mélange de traditions orales et écrites. Ensuite, elle a progressivement changé en privilégiant une littérature musicale purement militaire révélée par les maîtres turcs et occidentaux. Parmi les pièces nouvellement composées dans cette institution, la marche de l'école militaire turque, Sayr al-Madrasa al-Harbiya al-Turkiya, qui attestent d'une parfaite maîtrise des techniques d'écriture pour fanfare. Hormis le répertoire réservé aux cérémonies officielles, la fanfare beylicale exécutait de nombreuses pièces du répertoire traditionnel du malouf ainsi que des bashârif, préludes instrumentaux, et des slams, salut. On parle d'une nouba entière suivie d'un slam dans le même tba que celui de la nuba. Ainsi, quand le fanfare exécuta Nubat al-Sin, elle l'acheva par le slam al-Sin pour ne pas choquer Louis du Bey et de son assistance. Ici, nous avons les notes de l'exemple de l'hymne beylical en mode Rajd al-Dil. B. L'apport de l'œuvre instrumentale ottoman, l'exemple Tanbûrî Cemil Bey. Parmi le corpus présenté par l'ouvrage cité de l'école du Bardo, figurent de nombreuses pièces instrumentales dont l'appellation démontre clairement qu'elles sont d'inspiration ottomane. Donc voici la liste. Et il y a une grande liste avec les pages de l'école de Bardo. Bashârif al-Kabir Sin Adjem. Donc, on voit les modes. Donc, Adjem, Tcharga, Dil al-Kabir, Tcharga, Neva. Ici, on voit les modes et je descends un peu. L'illustration du manuscrit, donc une note écrite à la main. Retenons ici le Bashraf Samaï, le chambar et plus particulièrement le Bashraf Peşrev-turc, forme instrumentale de la musique classique ottomane, attestée en notation dès le XVIIe siècle jusqu'à nos jours. Il prend le sens d'introduction ou prélude à une suite musicale al-fasil, autrement dit al-makaddam. Il comprend parfois trois parties, khana ou hane en turc, on le dit, maison, mais plus généralement quatre et parfois davantage chacune, elle suivie d'un refrain, teslim ou moulazime, transition. Donc nous connaissons le formule du Peşrev et c'est écrit ici, mais des fois c'est presque pareil en turc, mais avec un son différent. Khana, mais nous disons hane, al-fasil, nous disons fasil en turc, mais c'est clairement la même chose. Le Bashrev tunisien dérivé du Peşrev turc connut son épanouissement au XVIIIe siècle par sa structure et sa partie conclusive appelée harbi, littéralement guerrier. Il diffère de celui connu en Turquie et au Mashriq arabe, l'école syro-égyptien. Son allure martiale et vive prouve que son introduction s'est effectuée par le truchement de la musique militaire turque, celle de janissars qui pratiquaient le Peşrev. Notons aussi que l'acquisition de ce genre d'ouverture par les maîtres traditionnels s'était faite auprès des chefs de musique militaire. Ce fut le cas du cheikh Ahmed al-Wafi, maître incontesté qui a pris les bases de la musique turque et particulièrement le répertoire de Bashrev auprès de Sakizli, chef de la fanfare beylicale. En effet, l'œuvre de nombreux maîtres de la musique ottomane des 19e et de 20e siècles ont eu une influence directe ou indirecte sur la création musicale de l'époque tunisienne et arabe en général. Parmi eux, Tanbûrî Cemil Bey occupait une place particulière, personnage historique qui a réussi grâce à sa vision multiculturelle, sa maîtrise, son talent et sa performance en tant qu'interprète, mais aussi par l'excellence, la consistance et la perfection de ses compositions, notamment ses Beşrev Semai, dont la célébrité dépassa l'Anatolie pour faire école partout dans le monde arabe, y compris la Tunisie. Ils serviront de modèle pour l'apprentissage des instruments traditionnels tels oud, kanun, ney, kemençe. Citons entre autres les Peşrev, Muayyer, Devkebir, Şadaraban, Nehavent, Ferafeza, Shedaraban, Nehavent, Ferafeza. Selon les vieilles cires se rapportent à l'interprétation de Tanburi Cemil Bey, nous remarquons qu'à la fin du 19e siècle, le tempo du Peşrev était accéléré. Il semble qu'il eut deux approches, l'une son élève représentée par les derviches tourneurs dans le monde du sacré et l'autre plus alerte, relevant de la musique séculaire. Exemple actuel, pour conclure, nous présentons comme démonstration deux pièces tunisiennes et une pièce algérienne. Et voilà, on a les notes de trois pièces qui nous montrent l'influence de Tanbûrî Cemil Bey et de la culture ottomane et turque sur la création de la musique au XVIIe siècle en Tunisie et en Algérie. Evet, teşekkürler dinlediğiniz için. Siz Fransızca dinleyenler varsa çok memnun olurum eğer yazarlarsa. S'il y a des francophones qui ont écrit, je serais content de savoir s'ils ont lu. Comme ça, on pourrait transmettre vos opinions à Monsieur Guettat par email après. Mais là, maintenant, une question et réponse ne sera pas possible. Dear guest, I have finished the readings of the Monsieur Guettat writings. So we have, at the end, we have three notes, three music sheet, who demonstrates that, which demonstrates that there was an influence of Turkish Ottoman culture in Tunisia, and the beginning maybe was the Turkish military janissary music, and after Tanburi Cemil Bey was one of the influencers, and this is demonstrated by two pieces. But we don't have recordings, so we cannot make you hear. For instance, maybe after in the toomuch.org website, if we can find them, we can share with you. Evet, teşekkür ederim. Burada kendisi de Monsieur Guettat da burada olmadığı için soruları benim cevaplamam mümkün olmayacaktır. Korkut Alp Hocam, nasıl yapalım şimdi? Burada tam tamam. 9.30'da bu akşam her akşam olduğu gibi bir dinletimiz var biliyorsunuz. Bu akşam 9.30'da görüşmek üzere. İyi günler. Tanburi Cemil Bey'le kalalım.